In this problem, I need to factor completely this trinomial here. So looking at the trinomial, if you notice the coefficients are all even, therefore they're all divisible by 2, so I can definitely factor out a common factor of 2. Always pull out common factors first, it makes the resulting numbers a lot smaller. Well, I factor a 2 out of a 2x squared, it's going to leave me x squared. Factor a 2 out of a negative 58x, it's going to leave me negative 29x, plus, last one, 2 goes into 240 120 times. So now what I'm going to do is concentrate on factoring this trinomial, and it's one of the easier ones because the leading coefficient of the x squared term is 1. Now remember, in all of these, we compare it to ax squared plus bx plus c. So in this case, we know a is the coefficient of the x squared term, which is just 1. Whoops. I know b is the coefficient of the x term is negative 29. And c is the constant term, which is 120. So now we multiply a times c, and a times c is 1 times 120, which is 120, and b is equal to negative 29. The two numbers I'm looking for need to multiply. The product needs to be 120, and the sum needs to be negative 29. So let's just make a table of values here. So we know that I want two numbers whose product, that means we multiply, product is multiplication. Product is 120 and sum is negative 29. Well, since when the numbers multiply to positive, that says both of the numbers are the same sign. This says they're both negative. So I'm looking at two negative numbers. So I don't happen to know all the factors quickly of 120 that add to negative 29. So if you don't know them, just do a systematic table. Negative 1 and negative 120. Well, that's way away from the sum I want. Does 2 go into negative 120? Yes. 2 times negative 2 times negative 60 is positive 120, adds to negative 62. Negative 3 times negative 40 is 120. That adds up to negative 43. Negative 4 times negative 30. 4 goes into 120 30 times. So that's going to add up to negative 34, getting closer. Does 5 go into 120? Yes, 5 goes into 120 negative 24 times. So negative 5 times negative 24 is positive 120. And guess what? Those add up to the sum that I'm looking for. As a was equal to 1 in this case, that means the two factors I want are going to be x minus 5 and x minus 24. The problems are a little harder when a is not equal to 1. So in this case, my trinomial factors to 2 times x minus 5 times x minus 24. And that is the answer when I completely factor this trinomial. If you want, at the end of the problem, you can check it by multiplying it out. So I'm going to get 2 times. Now I'm going to FOIL this out. X times x is x squared. X times negative 24 minus 24x. Negative 5 times x. Negative 5x. And lastly, negative 5 times negative 24 is positive 120. So I'm going to have 2 times x squared minus, add the middle two terms up, negative 29x plus 120. And then I'm not going to write this part out, but if I distribute this in, I'm going to get 2x squared minus 58x plus 240. So it checked nicely.